Good morning, everyone. It's Brenda Quintana coming to you live from the Beehive. It's been 3 whole weeks since I came to you. I was up in Canada for a week to visit my parents, and it was a great visit. My dad is doing really well. I am so happy to see him walking and talking, and it's just so great. It was an awesome trip. And in Canada, we celebrate Thanksgiving in October, and I was able to be there for that too. And so it was just a really nice celebration. So I'm sorry I couldn't do Facebook Lives on those 2 Tuesdays because I was traveling on both of those Tuesdays, and it would have been impossible to do them without my supplies anyway. But I'm back again, and hopefully I'm not too rusty, and hopefully I can get everything accomplished that I want to share with you guys today. I want to say a big good morning to everyone that's joining me live. Thank you so much for being here. Today's card was actually difficult for me. It was interesting because I was working on it this weekend, and I was trying to get the snowflake on the card. I'll show you in a moment. And I was trying to find a substitute actually for the snowflake because I always try and do something a little different. And I was getting a little stumped. So I will show you what I did with that. Sometimes you might wonder, oh, I don't really like that card. I don't want to participate in the Casing Tuesday today because I don't like that layout or whatever. And I think that's precisely why you should do that particular one, because you need to maybe push yourself a little bit and see what you can come up with. And that's why I like it, that it's not just me choosing the cards, or it's not just Catalina choosing the cards. It is both of us. And so sometimes she chooses something that's a little bit hard for me. And I know I've challenged her too on occasion, and she's been like, oh, this is a hard one. So that's good for us. That's how we learn and get out of our comfort zone. So I hope that you'll participate. That's what our Facebook group is for. So if you are unfamiliar with that, check out the link in the description of my video and just click on that and ask to join the group, and you'll be able to see all the cards people post. We take one card and everyone does the same card. So it's neat to see what we all can do with the different cards. So on that note, I'm going to turn the camera around so that you guys can see what I'm talking about this week's challenge, and we'll just jump right in. So give me a second. If you get motion sick, I'll tell you, close your eyes now while I do this. Okay, keep your eyes closed. I am turning my camera so it's facing down onto my projects. Oh, my little camera's a little wonky this morning. Let me cinch it in here. Okay, my camera should be stable now. So this is the card right here that we will be casing. That's a beautiful card. I love this card. You can see, I don't know if you can see it very well, but there is a snowflake embossed on the back of this, in the background of this card. And I love that idea. I mean, it's a beautiful card to have this snowflake, a subtle snowflake in the background, and these 3 circles and a little grouping right here. It would be actually pretty easy to take that design, like to emboss the snowflake and to take 3 circles out of, or 2 circles out of designer series paper, or maybe 1 out of the glimmer paper and 1 out of designer series paper, and then put a greeting in a circle right there. And you would have your card, and you can do it whatever color you want. But what I was thinking was, you know, how can we take this card and make it applicable to other designs? So that's always my thought, is like, okay, this card is great, like standalone, a great use of all the products, but how can we take that and translate it into other products? And so I had the hardest time finding a substitute for the snowflake. You know, because we don't have any really big shapes that are that size. So I tried all different kinds of things, and that I think stumped me the most. And so what I came up with in the end was I just ignored the snowflake and pretended it wasn't there. And instead I focused on this grouping right here. The other problem that I ran into was I don't have, right now in my collection, I don't have very many stamps that fit into a circle nicely. So I had to fudge a little bit, and I used an oval instead. So my lessons learned from this card is, if you don't have the snowflake, or if you don't want to use the snowflake, ignore it. Pretend it's like it's not there and focus on this grouping, and you can create a grouping of any 3 shapes. If you don't have circles and ovals, use squares or rectangles. And this is what I did. I used an oval, a circle, and a flower that came with the bundle that I was using. So, that is how I got around that. And yes, I could have had the snowflake in the background, but I thought, let's use the embossing folder that came with this bundle. So that's how I translated that. And then of course I kept the top and the bottom lines of the card. So, if you hold them side by side, you can see, that they do come from the same, my card comes from the same card, but it's just, a different way of translating it. So don't let this week's challenge stop you. I want to see what you can do with it. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to show you how I made this card. I'm using the Christmas quilt bundle, and it has this stamp set in, and I believe this is called the Quilt Builder Framelits. So whenever you buy something as a bundle, you can save 10%. So that's a nice deal. I'm also using this embossing folder, which is called the Quilt Top Embossing Folder, which is a part of that suite, but not a part of the bundle. It's a standalone, but it's a really nice addition if you're going to get that bundle. So I think the easiest way to start off with is, or start point, is to stamp our little greeting right here. So I've just got a piece of Whisper White, and I've got my greeting, and it just says, "Have yourself a merry little Christmas." And I'll just take my Real Red ink pad. It's kind of easier to stamp first and then cut your oval. So that's what I'm going to do, just stamp it down on here. I could have cut the oval first too and stamped on the oval, but this way you can take it and kind of center it a little better. So let me put this away before I get red fingers. And then we're going to need the big shot. We're going to do a whole lot of big shotting. So big shotting is a verb, right? So I've got, let's do the embossing first, since I have that platform here. So for this emboss piece, this one is 4 1/4 by 5 inches, and this is just another piece of Whisper White. And what I try to do with this one, since I know the little circles fit on here perfectly, I am actually going to kind of try and center my design. Yes, I am picky. Maybe some of you are like that too. So, just make sure it's centered on the design. I've got my regular platform here. So, the regular platform comes in 2 pieces. It's got the base platform and the thin die adapter. We don't need the thin die adapter right now. So we're on the base platform. You'll need a cutting plate. You'll need the embossing folder, and then you'll need another cutting plate. And you know what? I'm going to turn my machine on an angle. That way it won't bump into my camera post. And then you just run that through. And I love this embossing folder because look how pretty that is. It's just so nice and textured. So let me get rid of this platform, and I want to use my magnetic platform. If you have this, you're probably also addicted to it. You can use your platform with a thin die adapter if you don't have a magnetic platform, but I love this guy. So our little greeting is here. So I did also use the stitch shape framelits, and I think this is also a nice addition. If you like the quilted look, you'll also want this one because it's got the little stitching around it. And I'm using the second largest oval framelit to cut that out. And maybe at the same time, let me cut, I'm gonna need a background flower. So let's cut that at the same time. So let's go ahead and put that on there. So we'll do 2 and 2. I'm gonna need 2 flowers. So we'll just run these 2 through, and then we'll run our circle and the other part of the flower through. So let's do this. I always like it when I can cut more than one thing. So that gives you your little oval, and look at the little stitching around that. That's perfect, like for the design of the card. And then we've got, this is my little background flower. If you notice on my card, I've got my flower done in 2 pieces. I've got a glimmer paper top and just a regular real red bottom. So then we can take these pieces away. And now we're going to cut another stitch shape piece. And I'm doing, this is a lemon lime twist cardstock. And again, I'm using the second largest circle to cut out a layer. And then I'm going to need some red glimmer paper. And I'm going to need 2 pieces of this flower. Now, it's kind of hard to see with this glimmery layer facing up. It's far easier to position with the white. So I'm going to flip this over. I'll put my flower on here, and then this is the inside of the flower. And I also want that because that's what's going to create that that detailed piece. So I'm just going to kind of center this on here. The glimmer paper backing is a little slippy slidey. So let me just get that centered. Carefully put this on top. And then I can run these 2 pieces through. So, and I just want to say hello to everyone that's joined me. I know some people have joined me from some unique places. There's someone here from Denmark. That's really cool. Thank you for joining me. Here's the little flower. So now I just need to pop out these little pieces, right? And just pop those out with your fingers. And so you've got this little piece that's going to layer right on top of the real red piece. And then I've got this piece right here. That's another layer. So let me get rid of this big shot. All right. Okay, let's bring all the pieces in. So you're going to need a card base, and I am using real red here. I've cut a piece of cardstock to 11 inches by 4 1/4 inches and scored it in half at the 5 1/2 inch mark. Then we've got our little quilted embossed piece, our lemon lime circle, our whisper white oval greeting, and then we've got our 2 pieces that create the flower. So now we just really need to assemble this whole thing, and I'm going to use some Tombow. Hope my Tombow is not clogged. Let's see. Oh, good. It's not clogged this morning. If it ever gets clogged, I like to keep a paper clip on hand just to unclog it. Make sure I've got my bottom facing the right way. And then I'm just going to add this piece to the front of the card, leaving the same amount of red at the top and the bottom because that was the design for the card. Just pat this down, make sure it's sticking down. When I emboss this piece, it kind of bows up, so you really want to make sure it's tamped down in the right spot. Then what I do is I layer all my pieces on here. Let me glue the flower together real quick. So there's probably different ways to glue this flower together. this, oh, sorry, hit the camera. That's too much glue. Try to use a light hand with this piece if you're going to use Tombow, because it likes to squeeze out because there's very little on there. In fact, I'm going to take a tissue and just get rid of some of the little glue blobs and make sure it's not too messy. It does dry clear and it does hold well. That's why it's usually my default glue. So I'm just going to tap that on there. And this will go down here like that. So once you've got your arrangement looking good, you can glue that on there. So I've been experimenting with fast fuse adhesive. I didn't own fast fuse until Stampin' Up! Had a special about a week ago. We actually ran out of the fast fuse because the special was so popular, but they're going to bring the special back once they get their refills back in. So the special was you buy a fast fuse applicator, like one of the actual fast fuse, and then you get 2 refills for free. It was a really great deal, and I couldn't pass it up, even though I never used it. Sometimes I have a little bit of problem using it. I've used it at Stampin' Up! Events, and that's kind of, you know, put me off using it. But the one thing I like about it, it is a little stronger than our snail adhesive, and it goes on quickly. So I thought I would try it out on camera today, see how I do. So the one trick that was taught to me, of course, you want the fast fuse facing up and you roll it towards yourself, and you roll it and then you do kind of a quick check to the side. But the one trick that was taught to me was alternate which side you go to, because this little piece tends to then pull over to one side. So if you're going to, oh, I hadn't even gotten it yet. If you go to the right, click, and then you go to the left and check to the left. So if you alternate it, it tends not to pull over to the side and jam after a while. So if you're doing that, hopefully that will work. And I will let you guys know when the fast fuse special comes back, because it's a good one. So then you're going to roll it, check to the left, roll it, check to, actually I was doing right and then I was doing left. I can't tell the difference between my right and left. Now you know my dirty little secret. And then this is the greeting. Have yourself a very Merry Christmas. And then you just add it onto there like that. And then we've got this little guy right here. So I'm going to put some fast fuse. This is my check to the right. And then this will be my check to the left. All right. So then you can just add that onto here like that. And then to finish it off, somewhere over here I have my rhinestones. These are the old rhinestone jewels that I'm trying to use up. I have no clue where my paper clipping tool is. Aha, here it is. And then I just like to pick up one of the large rhinestone jewels. We still have rhinestone jewels. They just are configured a little differently now, but they still come in the 3 different sizes. So the only thing that you don't get are these lines of rhinestones, which I hardly ever used anyway, so it's just as well. You can see mine are all still intact over there. So I'm taking one of the largest rhinestone jewels and I'm just gonna pop it on there like that. And that is the card. Pretty easy. A lot of die cutting and embossing on this one, but I'm sure that you can take this layout, which might be a little bit more simplified than this layout, and turn it into something. So if you don't have something that fits into a circle, put it into an oval, you know, or it doesn't actually have to be a greeting. Maybe you use 3 flowers or 3 snowflakes, or, you know, be creative. I want to see what you come up with this. Let me turn the camera around again. down real here. So while I blah, 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 if you have any questions, please let me know, because I will check in a moment to see if there were any questions. I'm going to scroll back on my screen. So if you like this card and you want to know the measurements for the card, you want to see a photo of the card, there is a link in the description of this video that will take you directly to my blog post. There is also a supply list there, so it tells you all the things that I use to make the card. I have some dimensions on there. I will, sometime today, I'm going to take this video and I'm going to pop it onto YouTube, so it will be there. It's a little bit easier to find things on YouTube, because once it gets on Facebook, it gets a little buried amongst other things. So I'm going to put it on YouTube as well. Okay, let me see if you guys have any questions. Thank you for all the comments, and I'm so glad you like my card. Thanks for visiting from North Carolina, and I saw someone from Denmark. Janny says that she thinks she needs that embossing folder. I agree. I mean, the embossing folder is really nice. Quilting is very popular in America and in Canada too. I don't know so much about Europe, but it's a really pretty design for the background. And if you're making a card that looks like a quilt, that will give it like the stitched top. So it's a really pretty embossing folder, and this time of year. What is the name of the embossing folder? That is a really good question. It is called the Quilt Top embossing folder, and right now it is in the Stampin' Up! Holiday catalog. So I don't know if it's going to carry over. So if you like this embossing folder, I would recommend getting it in the next couple of weeks, because what happens is if they're not going to carry it over, we have an event, Stampin' Up! Demonstrators have an event, it's kind of the second week of November, and we are going to get the Occasions catalog, and around that time they also tell us what is carrying over and what will be retiring, and Stampin' Up! Will post a retiring list. And guess what happens? If a product is popular, if it is on back order and it goes on the retiring list, guess what? That's it. No one can get that product anymore. So that's not the situation, I don't think, right now with the Quilt Top embossing folder. But if it does, if it is in limited quantity, and you know, people that have been on the fence about it, you know, oh, I'll get it later, you know, all of a sudden it's retiring and people are like, I need that because I won't be able to get it later. So all of a sudden everyone's gonna rush in and try and grab it, and it will get sold out really quickly. And then if you want it, you're going to have to go on the secondary markets, and then you're going to have to pay a lot more because it's in demand. Everyone wants it. So this is one that I suggest, if you want it, get it, if possible, get it before the end of October, or at the latest, the first week of November. Because if it goes on back order and you order it in the first week of November and they haven't officially retired it yet, they will, you know, bring in quantity to cover the back orders. So you'll be covered. So I suggest getting it then. Now, it could carry over, in which case, if it carries over, then it won't be an issue. You'll still probably be able to get it until we get the retirement list in April for the next catalog, and then we'll know whether or not it's carrying over into the annual catalog or if it's going to be retired for good. But if you like it, get it now. That's usually what I say. You know, we've had products every year, some very popular products that have retired, and people are still trying to get them, and they're gone, and it's very hard to get them in once they've retired. So, you know, get what you like and try and get it now. Make yourself a list in priority mode, and get things in that way if you're on a budget. Or better yet, and what I'm going to say next is, if you have a big wish list, get the starter kit. It's a great deal. It is $99 in the US, and you get $125 worth of product. And then after that, you get a 20% discount on all your products for at least 3 months. And depending on when you sign up, it could be longer. And then it renews if you meet your minimum requirement. And if you don't meet the minimum requirement, well, then your discount is, it just stops, and nothing bad happens to you. No one comes to take away your Stampin' Up! Supplies or anything like that. It's just, whether or not you keep on doing it or not. So that's what I say. If you have a big list, get the starter kit. Ask for it for Christmas. That's kind of what I did. I used Christmas money to buy the starter kit. Will be 12 years ago in January. I bought it the first day of celebration in January. And look at me, I'm still stamping 12 years later, so it's kind of cool. But anyway, I have talked a lot today, and I guess I always talk a lot, but talked about things other than the card. But yeah, I hope you guys all have a great week. I hope it's not cold for you. It just suddenly got cold here in Boston today, but the sun is shining, so I'm happy about that. I will see you back here next Tuesday. I'm going to do another card for you. So until then, have a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.